This material details the really revolutionary process of making professional music videos with generative AI like Kling AI, focusing on getting maximum output from minimal input.
And it was really impressive. The breakdown of how these tools can replace huge, expensive production teams was so clear.
It was. Let's just dive right in and talk about how to make that explanation even stronger.
I agree. I mean, the core premise is there, that anyone can get professional results without the old gatekeepers. You see that example clip for Hagai, and you just get it. No massive budget, no huge crew.
It's a game change. So let's look at that section on input requirements, because that's where I think we can add some nuance. The whole minimal input idea is powerful, but it might be a bit misleading.
Yeah, I think we need to draw a line between what's minimal input and what's smart input. They're not the same thing.
Okay, so here's our first point. While the material effectively demonstrates how AI lowers the technical barrier to entry, it risks minimizing the essential human element, high-level creative direction, and sophisticated prompt engineering.
That's a crucial distinction. The weakness right now is that the discussion, it keeps emphasizing getting the maximum from the minimum.
Right. The idea that all you need are lyrics, a voice recording, and one photo.
Exactly. And that framing risks confusing how easy the execution is with the strategic vision you need to have beforehand.
It's a really good point. If the tech makes production a commodity, if anyone can just press the button, then what makes something stand out?
The only thing left is the quality of that initial creative concept. That becomes the sole differentiator.
It's the difference between making something that's just generic and making something truly iconic. The democratization part is strong, but stardom, or even just market impact, still comes from being different.
And if the input is lazy, the output is going to be forgettable, no matter how polished it looks.
So the suggestion here is to reframe the narrative, right?
Right. We need to highlight that these AI tools are really powerful amplifiers. They require a very precise, a very sophisticated initial vision. The focus has to shift from less input to smarter input.
I like that. Smarter input. So how does that apply to the workflow? The material talks about the AI acting as a literary consultant for the storyboard. How do we make the input smarter there?
Well, we need to make it clear that the creator's job is more like a director, not a clerk just handing over files.
Okay.
So when describing the AI as a consultant, we should add some specific requirements for the human at that stage. Instead of just, take the song to the AI, we should suggest that the creator has to define the visual language first.
The whole aesthetic.
The whole aesthetic, the emotional transitions, the specific framing details, all of that has to come first to make sure the storyboard the AI generates is actually useful and, more importantly, unique.
So if your song is about, say, loneliness, you're not just feeding it the lyrics, you're setting the visual rules of that world.
Precisely. You're giving the AI its marching orders. The creator needs to say something like, the bridge where the lyrics talk about loneliness must use a high-contrast chiaroscuro lighting style, emphasize shadows, single light sources.
Or even more specific, like,
Exactly. Something like, for the chorus, I need a low-angle shot to create a sense of vastness and frame it in a super saturated neon blue color palette.
and see, that instruction takes zero technical production skill, but it requires a serious creative vision.
It puts the creator back in the driver's seat. They're not a button pusher. They're a creative architect commanding this huge digital team.
And that's the real takeaway we want people to have. The head start isn't just knowing how to use the AI.
No, the head start is having the creative mind to generate that focused, detailed vision in the first place. If the prompt is just, make a clip for my sad song, you'll get a sad, generic clip.
But if the prompt is, make a clip for my sad song using German expressionist cinema motifs, with a recurring image of a blue lantern in the style of Edward Hopper,
now the AI has something truly unique and sophisticated to work with.
that reframing is so much more powerful. It's about honing your creative skills, not just your tech skills.
Agreed. Okay, so let's move on. Let's talk about the actual mechanics of the process that's described. It's really good at showing the bookends of the process.
You mean the initial idea and then the final animation from Kling AI?
Exactly. But there's a really critical step in the middle, isn't there? A sort of valley where I think a lot of new users get stuck or lose quality control.
Absolutely. And if we can help them navigate that, this material goes from just an overview to an expert guide.
Here's the second major point then. To provide a comprehensive and actionable guide, the material must dedicate more attention to the crucial intermediate step of consistent image generation that precedes the animation stage in Kling AI.
Right. The weakness as it stands is a bit of a logical leap.
A huge one. It jumps from the AI built me a storyboard and I want it illustrated straight to the final step where Kling AI just simply animates the images.
But it glosses over that part where the creator needs to, and this is a quote, develop these pictures. Actually prepare his picture in a different scene each time.
That's the hardest part. That image preparation phase is often the biggest technical hurdle, especially getting character and style consistency across different scenes.
Of course, if your artist, Hagai, looks like a stylized character in one scene, he can't suddenly have a different face or different clothes in the next. The whole narrative just falls apart.
It totally breaks the illusion. So the suggestion for improvement is to dedicate a specific, detailed segment to that workflow of image creation and preparation before the animation.
This isn't just about making pictures. It's about making consistent pictures.
Exactly. And that detail will make the instructions so much more robust for anyone trying to replicate that high-quality example. Because if your input images are inconsistent, Kling AI is just going to animate that inconsistency. The final product will suffer.
So we need to give people actionable strategies for managing that consistency. What kind of specifics should they be thinking about in their prompts during that middle phase?
Okay, so building on that smarter input idea, we should give concrete examples. Let's say the artist wants to appear in the clip.
Okay.
We need to explain whether one source photo is enough or if the AI actually needs a whole sequence of full body shots from different angles to really get the character for different scenes.
That's a great point, because if you only give it one photo, the prompt engineering required to keep that same face and body type across, a crowded market and then an underwater scene.
It's immense, and it needs to be spelled out. The creator isn't just generating 50 random images. They're doing 50 iterations on one very specific visual model to get a perfectly consistent result. They have to define the look and then lock it down.
So this is where we can get a bit more technical, but in a helpful way.
Yes. If they're going for an illustrated style, we need to emphasize using specific textual prompts and, this is critical, using negative prompts to maintain that uniform style.
Let's just quickly define that. A negative prompt is basically telling the AI what not to do, right? It's just as important as telling it what to do.
Absolutely. It's your quality control. You don't just ask for a character, you might add a negative prompt like avoid blurry edges, no extra limbs, maintain sharp focus. You're cleaning up the input.
And beyond that.
We have to stress using a consistent style guide.
And what does a style guide mean in this context?
It means defining the visual parameters so precisely that the AI can't really deviate. For example, you tell the AI to use the exact same character features, defined by the specific artistic style of Mobius with consistent color grading set at this specific hex code, hashtag C0C0C0.
Wow. That's specific.
That's specific. It stops the character's face or clothes from subtly shifting frame to frame, which is the death of so many of these AI videos. You give Kling AI consistent, high-quality building blocks to animate.
That level of detail is what changes this from a cool overview into a guide that people can actually use to solve the real problems they'll face. It respects their intelligence.
Exactly. It helps them build something robust. Okay, so final point. Let's talk about the overall structure. I noticed a slight disruption in the flow near the end.
Right. The core of the piece is all about empowering the individual artist. That Hagai story is so compelling, but then the narrative just pivots really sharply.
Right. So this is the third point. The material's overall argument about the democratization of media creation would be strengthened by integrating the corporate application case more seamlessly with the artistic stardom discussion.
The weakness here is that abrupt shift. You go from this exciting story about a singer becoming a star to all of a sudden using AI for instructions and explanations for employees.
It feels like an afterthought that was just tacked on. It's a great data point, but the way it's integrated is clunky. It kind of breaks the spell.
Yeah, it dilutes that main emotional message, but we don't want to cut it because it does show how powerful the tool is.
Of course not. So the suggestion is to reframe it. Don't present the corporate use case as a separate thing. Frame it as proof of the technology's incredible accessibility and versatility across all forms of media.
Use it to hammer home the universal importance of the tool.
The argument becomes that the underlying workflow is identical, whether you're making entertainment or an instructional video. It's all just media communication at the end of the day.
Built on the same foundation.
Exactly. We can create a clear parallel, explain that a company needing training materials follows the exact same process as the musician. The company provides the text of the instructions, that's their lyrics, and a core visual like a logo.
And the AI acts as the consultant to storyboard the training points. Minimal input, complex output.
Right. So the complexity of a training video, explaining a new policy, for example, is generated from simple text, just like the complexity of a dance sequence is generated from simple lyrics.
And that's where the versatility really shines through.
It does. We need to highlight that the corporate user, just like the non-dancing singer, gets all this complex movement and visual interest that would otherwise cost a fortune in animation or live-action shooting.
So if a manual needs to show a complex machine part turning or an animated graph,
the AI can generate that just as easily as it can generate a music video. It conceptually ties the professional and artistic uses together.
and it reinforces the core claim. This levels the playing field for all high-quality media. It shows the listener that the lessons about smarter input and image consistency apply universally.
Whether they're making the next viral hit or the next internal training module, it gives the whole piece a much broader, more logical scope. It proves the revolution isn't just for singers. It's for everyone.
Okay, this has been incredibly focused. Let's recap. We covered 3 key areas to really strengthen this material. First, rebalancing the narrative to emphasize high-level creative direction. That's smarter input idea over just minimal effort.
Second, we address that crucial workflow problem by suggesting a dedicated, clear section on image generation and consistency before you even get to Kling AI.
And finally, we talked about strategically integrating those diverse use cases, like the corporate training one, to really solidify the argument about the tool's universal power.
Exactly.
The framework you provided is already so insightful and compelling. You clearly have a deep understanding of this stuff. Applying these adjustments, especially that smarter input philosophy, and solving the image consistency hurdle will make this guide so much more robust.
It'll turn a great overview into an essential reference guide for creators.
We really look forward to seeing the revised material when you decide to submit it again.